Welcome back to Beyond the Silence Whispers Across America. I'm Sammy, and tonight we are exploring a case that is tragically modern, shrouded in the ambiguity of casual gatherings, social media, and a terrifyingly quick police verdict. We are traveling to the sun-drenched suburbs of Florida, to the year 2021. This is the story of Daniel Davis, a young man whose future vanished in the shallow waters of a backyard pool. Daniel was 25 years old, a quintessential Florida boy. He was funny, loyal, and full of the easygoing energy you expect from someone his age. He wasn't a student, but a hard worker, dedicated to his job and his family, especially his mother and sister. Daniel was grounded, responsible, and possessed a clear trajectory in life, which makes the sequence of events that unfolded that night so profoundly unsettling. He was not prone to self-destructive behavior, and his commitment to his job in the construction trades provided him with a stability that runs counter to the careless narratives later assigned to his death. His death didn't occur in a dangerous part of town or during a major conflict. It occurred in the seemingly benign setting of a suburban pool party, a common backdrop for fun and relaxation. The night in question was October 15, 2021. Daniel was invited to a party at a private residence, reportedly a friend of a friend, in the West Palm Beach area. The details of the gathering are frustratingly vague, consisting of shifting recollections from attendees and the fragmented information gathered from social media posts later deleted or obscured. It was a typical millennial gathering: music, drinks, people moving in and out, and the general lack of careful observation that often characterizes modern social events. The residence itself was in a relatively affluent neighborhood, adding a layer of insulation and perhaps an expectation of privacy that complicated later inquiries. Daniel was there enjoying himself, seen chatting, laughing, and socializing, seemingly without any distress or conflict. At some point between midnight and the early hours of Saturday morning, Daniel disappeared from the visible gathering. Attendees later claimed they simply noticed he was gone. The timeline of his last visible moments is a critical black hole in this case. No one could pinpoint when or why Daniel separated from the group, nor did anyone report hearing shouts, a splash, or an argument near the pool area. It wasn't until early Saturday morning, after the party had mostly dispersed and the sun had begun to rise, that Daniel was found. He was submerged in the pool at the residence. The police response was tragically swift, and for Daniel's family, infuriatingly dismissive. Local law enforcement quickly examined the scene and within hours definitively labeled the death an accidental drowning. This initial ruling was based largely on the location of the body and the assumption that Daniel, who was known to occasionally enjoy drinking socially, must have simply fallen into the pool while intoxicated. The simplicity of the explanation provided an immediate, clean resolution for the department, but it left a gaping, ugly wound of doubt for everyone who knew Daniel, and it precluded any serious investigation into foul play. By classifying it as an accident so rapidly, the police essentially declared the crime scene inert, failing to document water disturbance, potential entry-exit points, or even properly analyze the water itself for substances. They treated the scene not as a potential homicide, but as a closed-off accident, failing to adequately document the area, secure evidence, or rigorously question the remaining partygoers. The golden window for evidence collection slammed shut within hours. The family, however, immediately rejected the verdict. When Daniel's body was returned to them, they observed physical evidence that flatly contradicted a simple accidental drowning. Daniel had severe bruising across his face, a distinctive cut on his lip, and visible trauma to his knuckles and wrists. Injuries entirely inconsistent with merely slipping on a poolside. The bruising on his face was deep, not surface scraping, suggesting heavy impact. The damage to his knuckles strongly implied he had been striking something or someone in self-defense. The family's insistence forced a deeper look, but only after the crucial initial hours were long gone. They paid for an independent autopsy, which confirmed their fears. The injuries were defensive in nature, suggesting Daniel had been in a violent altercation shortly before entering the water. Furthermore, toxicology reports, while complex, raised more questions than they answered, pointing to potential external factors in his death. The investigative shortcomings are where the injustice truly settles in. The official report relied on conflicting witness statements that painted Daniel as heavily intoxicated or depressed, narratives the family refuted as character assassination, convenient explanations that deflected blame from the party guests. Witnesses conveniently claimed they saw Daniel near the pool last, but none could offer a concrete, reliable account of how he entered the water or confirm that he was alone. The police did not immediately seize or analyze cell phones from the guests, allowing valuable digital evidence, texts, photos, and crucial time-stamped location data to be deleted or overwritten. Crucial video surveillance from nearby homes that might have captured vehicles arriving or leaving was never properly obtained or secured before it was overwritten. The failure to treat the pool area as a potential crime scene meant that any trace evidence, fibers, blood spatter, or discarded items was likely lost forever, washed away by the chlorine and the movement of cleanup after the police left. One major point of controversy centered on the type of injuries found on Daniel's body and their location. If he had simply fallen in, why the severe bilateral bruising? The family's independent forensic expert suggested the injuries were consistent with being struck or fighting for his life, possibly having been rendered unconscious before being submerged. This raised the terrifying possibility that Daniel was murdered, either beaten to death or incapacitated and then deliberately placed in the pool to stage an accidental drowning, a deliberate effort to destroy evidence and obscure the truth. This theory is supported by the rapid closure of the case by the police and their subsequent unwillingness to pivot from the initial narrative, even when confronted with contradictory forensic evidence provided by the family. The case remains in this frustrating limbo. Daniel Davis's death is still officially deemed an accident, yet the physical evidence and the circumstances scream of foul play. The pool party guests have largely dispersed back into their anonymous lives, taking any secrets they hold with them. The family continues its tireless advocacy, using social media and media appearances to keep Daniel's face and story visible, hoping that a change in law enforcement leadership or the sudden conscience of a witness will break this stalemate. They are fighting a system that prioritizes speed and convenience over truth and justice, a system that effectively allowed the potential killer to walk away free within hours of the crime, shielded by the initial bureaucratic mistake. The core question remains unanswered. Who was the last person to see Daniel alive and conscious? And what happened in those silent moments between the party ending and his body being discovered? That's where we'll leave it for now. No neat answers, only the questions that refuse to stay quiet. I'm Sammy, and I'll keep telling these stories because someone out there knows something. And for people like Daniel Davis, silence should never be the end. If a detail stood out to you, don't let it go. Share it, question it, talk about it. Stay with us. This story isn't over, and neither is our search. For more chilling mysteries and untold stories, follow and listen to Beyond the Silence. Whispers across America on all major podcast platforms.